You are one of the finest Gambian lawyers. I can say you are one of the celebrated Gambian lawyers. How was it in 1973 being the first Madinga to be called to the bar and to be a Gambian lawyer? The first Madinga. How was it in 1973?
I think it was an history-making event to be the first provincial born and first Mandinka was really breaking the tradition, what I would call the tradition, because before then, lawyers hailed from Banjul, and initially it was what we now call the Akus. Then the Wolofs came in, and it continued to be so until 1973, because when I think by the grace of God, break away from tradition, and Alhamdulillah, today I think there are several other Mandinka men and women who are in this very honorable profession. And I'm glad that I was the pioneer. Yes.
What were the challenges those days?
Well, the challenges really, let me say, for me, was I went to study law, again, not in the traditional institutions. I studied law in Africa first, the first Gambian really to study law in Africa. The tradition was you go to the Inns of Court, or you go to a university in the UK and take a degree in law and then proceed to one of the Inns of Court. But that was not with me. I went to University of Lagos, one of the premier universities of Africa, and of course the law then was you have to be a member of one of the honorable Inns of Court for you to be able to be enrolled as a barrister in this country and a solicitor. But then that law, again, thanks to God, was changed, and it was not only changed in the Gambia here, but also in Nigeria. The law was also changed there because you couldn't be admitted to the practice as a barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria unless you are a Nigerian. But then God was on my side, and both countries, changed their laws to admit me, to make provision for me. And many people are now benefiting from that.
Can you give us just a quick overview, because in 1981 you were one of the only Gambia human rights lawyer after the coup, and you stepped in there to defend innocent people. How was Islam for you?
Well, I think it was challenging, and it was an honor too. But let me just make a slight correction. I was not the only Gambian human rights lawyer. I had my good friend, my big brother, Ms. Antman Gay. In fact, I think one particular judge of the Court of Appeal called it, the farm. He started referring to me and Antman Gay as the farm, the farm of lawyers. But then, we really we are offering our services, to the indigent, to the underprivileged, and of course in 1980s, with others, there are other lawyers too, who really took part in the defense of those people who were charged for various offenses. But then, I really had the greatest chunk of it, because I was with them from the review tribunals up to trial stages. So, and in the absence of what we now call Human Rights Commission. We are not a commission as such, but then we went into the courts to assert the rights of those who we felt we are wronged.
You were not only focusing on human rights issues. Here you were advising a lot of companies on legal matters and even government agencies. Those days when you were very active, how was it like also?
Well, again, it was a great privilege, and I was honored to have earned the confidence of, as you say, many of the institutions who really made use of my services. It was a great honor, and it was the heydays of my practice, and I really enjoyed it. And I want to say that the various sets of the institutions then had very good relationship with them, and whenever we met, sometimes we reminisce, about those days. Gamtel, actually, I set up Gamtel, the incorporated, because it was not a statutory corporation. It's incorporated as a company, and I managed and arranged for the transfer of the assets of the then Cable and Wireless to Gamtel. Yes, and then I was happy that, or let me say, I'm happy that an institution that I had something to do with, turned out to be one of the best in the country, and continues to give the needed services to the government people. Now and again, when I meet with former Managing Director Bakar Njai, we talk about the good days of Gamtel, comparing it with what it is now, but hopefully it will regain its glory. I don't think its glory is lost. I think probably it's just temporarily being hidden, but it's certainly not lost.
As a young journalist, I will not sit here and I would ask these questions. I would like for you to ask this question. How was it the case of Castro when you defended Dumo Saho, Yabo, Lieutenant Jaite, and others? How was that case? Because that was a coup plot case, and the case was dragging, and you stepped in and you were able to free everybody, Dumo and others. How was it like that particular case? Is something that still...
Well, I enjoy practice of criminal law, and actually, the Dumo Saho was one who really sought my services. Dumo's relations, very close to me. In fact, his niece, is my secretary, the lady there. So when really Dumo was accused of trying to overthrow the government, family, friends, all were concerned, because we knew that he was a very vibrant social worker. I think he had something called I think something Loho. Yes, he had an NGO here, which was really offering a lot of good services to the Gambian people, and we couldn't just think that he really, would get himself involved in that attempt to overthrow the government. So I was asked by the family to defend him, and I happily did so. And his wife Anita is quite a wonderful woman, but after 2 appearances, I saw that as a gentleman from Badbusal, Kenya, he didn't have any representation, and I just announced to the court that I would defend him gratis. And Alhamdulillah, none of the persons accused in that case, none of them were found guilty. We had a very upright judge, Belgore, very fearless judge, and who decided cases on their merits, who never listened to the executive. He did what was right. And he had no choice because he had come from a family, of lawyers in Nigeria, with high reputation, and he could not afford to tarnish the reputation of that family. His brother became Chief Justice of Nigeria. So, these are people, their pedigree, that they have nothing other than, what the evidence discloses. That is what they have to abide by. And maybe you recall that their key witness, Francisco, I've never seen a man so dubious in life, a man who could lie, a man who would be unwilling to speak the truth as him. Can you imagine? Cannot even remember your birthday? You claim to be a highly placed security person. Can you imagine? You cannot even remember the day you were enrolled in services. It was really ridiculous. They just made up stories. Yeah.
Looking at our judicial systems and the human rights system, how do you see if in the past 6 years are we operating on a track or we are falling back?
Well, I think we have come a long way from what obtained in the Jammeh era. At least, let me just say this: every government does something to suppress rights, whether consciously or unconsciously. That happens everywhere. Yeah. We are lucky that we have a National Human Rights Commission, a watchdog that speaks out when there are violations of rights of the individuals. And we're looking forward to where you have, maybe not completely a human rights court, but then a judge that will be assigned to deal only with human rights cases. And that particular judge, I'm sure will make it his or her duty to read every literature on human rights issues, important cases on human rights, the decisions of the European Court of Human Rights, the African Court of Human Rights, and so forth. I hope we will have that. Now and again, of course, you have been aberrations by government. That is undeniable. It cannot be imagined that what we have gone through, applications would be made for permits to hold demonstrations and this government would deny that. That is unthinkable, because after all, our grouse was that liberties of the individuals, their personal liberties, their freedoms guaranteed by the constitutions, must be allowed to be enjoyed by the people. Of course, subject to other laws. Yeah? But I think the government with that stand of really trying to restrict the exercise of rights, is really, tainting its image. And that, when you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 denials, that incremental, let me say that incremental tainting of this character of the government is what exposes to be a dictator. And this, I think, I want to think that the government should really avoid, because we see no reason why anyone should be deprived of his right to demonstrate. In fact, President Adama Barrow, as a member of our executive, National UDP executive, we have always said that it is absolutely wrong for the government of the Gambia to insist on any political party having a permit before holding a meeting. And our position on that became harder when Femi Peters was convicted of holding or organizing a political rally without a permit. We all spoke against it, including President Adama Barrow. And it's now an irony that he heads a government that does not want to give permits to individuals. Even if you do not completely abolish permit, but then it should be a matter of routine. That is what we expect.
Okay, we will look at your role in the government now. You serve as a foreign minister, as a vice president. What were the challenges?
First as a foreign minister, the challenges were really how to launder Gambia. Yeah, because we are very dirty as a nation. So you really have to launder Gambia, to prove convince the world that we are really coming back into the fold of decent nations. We embrace democratic values and will practice democratic practices. We'll just abide by those things, And I started by, in fact, inviting all ambassadors, high commissioners, and honorary consuls to a meeting to assure them of the government's preparedness and willingness to really come back into the fold of the nations. And I promised them that what President Jammeh had voiced out, the withdrawal of the Gambia from the IEC, that decision we are going to rescind it, and also we are going to reapply to be readmitted to the Commonwealth of Nations. And as far as relations with other countries, particularly Senegal, we are going to put it, on the more familiar, friendly, basis, because Gambia and Senegal cannot afford to be at loggerheads. We are one family, and we must, as two separate nations, all work together for our mutual benefits. Senegal should be very pivotal in Gambia's foreign policy. Yeah. So, and I thought that really should make sure that our relationship with Senegal is smoothened. And of course, you can do so. One of the ways to do so really is to make sure that the rebel activities that are taking place in the Casamance province is not supported or encouraged by the government of the Gambia. Yes. And of course, as vice president, my period as my stint as vice president was short. I think it was about 6 months or so later. But also really the satellite institutions that we are under the vice presidency, we made sure that what they wanted, in terms of funding and budgeting, that we did have them. In fact, the then newly created Minister for Women's Affairs, I had to go for bilateral instead of my pound. I had to go for bilateral to make sure that the funds that they want, they really want, they get it to set up. That is to set up that institution. Uh, Sometimes really, because of budgetary constraints, it's difficult to do some of the things, like I believe it was the Women's Enterprise Fund. The Gambia government was supposed to have a counterpart fund in contribution, and I had to put a lot of pressure on Mambure, who cooperated really to make sure that the funds were available. Because if we missed it that year, it would not, we will not benefit from it until the next budgetary section. So we really had to push. It was difficult, but then having got cabinet approval, we had to push for the funds to be allocated.
There is this one misconception by Gambians that during your term in the office as a foreign minister, that was a Gambia signed document to deport Gambian asylum seeker in Europe. I know you are discussing with other media houses, but we just want for you to clear that for our viewer and our readers. Was that during your time in office?
Well, during my time as foreign minister, there was no discussions of any agreement between the Gambia and any other foreign countries, or between the Gambia and any other congregation. Congregation of or union of countries, the EU or otherwise, for the deportation of Gambian nationals. There was never such an agreement. I have never signed any such agreement, and I do not think during the time that I was in government any such agreement was signed. None was signed to my knowledge. But then this was politics. So however you can stain, however you can make your opponent unpopular, you can do so. But I have always asked that, well, let those who claim to that I signed anything, maybe they will make available the document I signed. And I tell you, Mr. Sheriff, if any such document had been signed by me, the current government would produce it in order to tell the Gambian people that he is the bad man. But it has not been. But, at one time they even accused my party.
Gambia is going through a lot of challenges. Economy is a big problem of this country now. We don't know where we are heading to with our economies. Even unemployment rate is growing on a daily basis. Just of recent, almost students are from the university, MDI, GTTI, we can name it, even the Gambia College, the teachers are graduating. What is your view? What do you think can be done to change this country for the better?
Well, that's a hell lot of question. Really, my view has always been that you have to have planning. Your plan for your manpower needs. Currently, this academic year, it is my view that those who are in grade 1, you start planning, give allowances for those who will be able to make it up to university level. And whilst they are at university, when they exit, into what will they exist? You don't just attend to issues ad hoc. You have to have well laid out plans. And this is what we have in our 5-point agenda. That you really have to have a system in place that will absorb our young people, into various spheres of employment. That is why we said we want to have at least 10 skilled centers built throughout the country, which will train Gambians in various trades, either in engineering, mechanical engineering, as electricians, as plumbers, as masons, and so forth, as carpenters. It should not be lip service. In order to really achieve this, your budget allocations will be the one that should reflect the genuineness of your pronouncements. You cannot give, you cannot be saying you want to give priority to education when funding for education is really far less than what is required. Nor can you do it for agriculture. In fact, there has not been any attempt by government to attain the Maputo Declaration or Maputo Commitment of having 10% of the national budget allocated to agriculture. You don't have any effort to do so. And what is happening is the non-productive areas or areas that really do not need funding, well, let me say not funding, that do not need, big funding, are the ones that are taking the big chunk of our budget. What does the President's Office really? The President's Office really, what does it do? I mean, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly in general, what is there that they do which warrants such, let me say, unjustified allocation to them? I think, I believe, one of the things that maybe the ministers finance, they think that if they give big allocations to the President's Office, that will make them look better, look them to be good boys in the eyes of the President. But no. I agree that the President's Office should have budget that will help keep the dignity of that office. But then it shouldn't be allocations that no reasonable person would want to have for that office. The stand of our National Assembly members, which is in consonance with the stand of the National Executive of the UDP, and by extension, the general membership of the UDP, is that the findings of the Auditor General must be implemented fully. But you do hear when we make statements, when our people make statements on the floor of the National Assembly, people say that, look, this is not politics. What is not politics? Because you belong to the minority, if you raise your voice on any issue, it's being considered as being politically motivated. We don't care for anybody to think that what we say is politically motivated. We don't care about that. What we care about is the interests of the Gambian people. We cannot allow the meager resources of this country to be plundered by few selfish individuals, and then for them to go scot-free. That we keep quiet about it because we feel so, because if we speak against it, those people will be against us. Let them be against us. History will be supporting us. And that is what our approach is, and that is what we will press for the prosecution of the people who are recommended for prosecution. If government doesn't do it, probably will ask legal advice of how to go about it. But I hope that the Minister of Justice will not really sit back and watch the recommendations of the Auditor General to be collecting dust in offices. I hope that will not happen. After all, I think the Standard carried the publication today, Gambia's ranking by Transparency International. That is shameful. I mean, we should be having our heads down. And I think really we should be doing every effort, even if government thinks that that is wrong. Yeah, there must be some element of truth in it, if it's not 100%. So we should President Adama Barrow should just call up his people and say, look, we cannot allow the good reputation of this country to be tarnished by people who hold office and make these offices as their ground for making money. We cannot allow that.
You came from Congress last year, and you bring in some new faces in the executive. What is holding you up to now, ready to address some of these issues? Are they denying permit?
Well, no. Well, we just come out from Congress, and of course, we do not have to hold rallies in order to say these things. I think we have been talking about these things whenever an opportunity arises. We've talked about them, and we'll continue talking about them because rallies are good, but sometimes engagements like this really could be more fruitful. Yeah, and we certainly prepare ourselves for the local government elections, and during the campaigns for the local government elections, these issues that will be telling people you cannot entrust the local government administration to a government that have been shown internationally, to be encouraging corruption in the country. Yeah, I mean, certainly cannot, and we certainly will question, the willingness of the government, because as you can, if you hear, they say they want to appoint governors because they want to control the council. So they want to appoint governors so that the corruption that you have at the central government level, you can seeping down to the local government authorities. That we will resist, and the government people should never allow that. I mean, that is opening another avenue for corruption. You want to control, the local government authorities. You want them to do things that are not in consonance with accepted, practices and procedures, just to satisfy your own political desires. I mean, you cannot. That will be the last straw, which will really kill this country. Everything in the country, is what? It's so horrible. We talked. I told Gamtel that I incorporated Gamtel. The heydays of Gamtel was very liquid, really liquid. Mr. Jammeh plundered the resources of Gamtel, the finances of Gamtel, and when Mr. Barrow came in, instead of trying to make sure that Gamtel comes up, it is going down. You hear things that are really very, very surprising. So there is no effort being made to really putting this country on track. Every effort is being made to derail the progress of this country.
Your party just recently launched a meeting of diplomatic missions discussing issues. What is this all about?
Well, you see, any government in waiting must act like a government. Yeah, any government in waiting must act like a government. Yeah? We have to engage the diplomatic community to give them our own vision of how Gambia's relations with the outside world should be, but also what we would want to do, because foreign policy, is also a reflection of your domestic policy. What we want to do internally, what we want to do with respect to agriculture, fight against poverty, yeah, the fight against AIDS, yeah, all these things, these are internal. These might be domestic issues, but they also have a global. They also have a global dimension. So we have to really have conversations with the diplomatic missions to put them into the know as to what our policies are, foreign policies are. I think very soon, we will also be engaging even the international partners like UNDP. We'll be talking to them what our views are on use of development funds and so forth, how it should be utilized. We'll be talking to the IMF resident rep as well as the World Bank. Our economics, we'll be talking to them. And we'll give them our own ideas as to how the economy of this country should be made to turn around, how to curb wastages, proper budgets to present. Because after all, you don't want to form government and then when you go to the World Bank and then start saying, well, I have to go back and check this particular data. You have to go there prepared. This is why we are having this engagement. And ordinarily, really, in any true democracy, this is what happens. Engagement between the opposition as well as foreign diplomatic representatives. And in fact, this sort of engagement should not only be with them. Our secretary responsible for agriculture should be really having engagement with the Minister of Agriculture, but the Minister of Agriculture wouldn't want to talk to our admin secretary for agriculture, because they think that, look, you opposition, we are not going to have anything to do with you. That is wrong. Why do you, because you have if it was a parliamentary type of government, you'll have a shadow. You'll have a shadow cabinet, and that shadow cabinet in the National Assembly will be taken on the Minister of Agriculture. The shadow Minister of Finance will be taken on the Minister of Finance.
We have seen ECOMI has extended their term to stay for 1 year. Do you think that is justifiable for ECOMI to still be in Gambia?
Well, I don't know what informed the decision for them to stay in the Gambia. The justification or no justification of that really, for me, would depend on the reason for it. And I want to say that I am not au fait with that. So I cannot offer any. I cannot offer any response as to whether it is justified or not.
The local government election is here. How prepared is UDP?
Well, we are preparing. For us, it's an ongoing thing. That is why I marvel when they say, well, elections are over, we should just go on. When are elections over? When should party politicking? When is party politicking over? Party politicking is a process that continues. Yeah? We have selected all our chairmen and mayoral candidates. We have selected them. We have also selected at least about 95% of our ward councillors. We still considering applications for other areas for which we have not selected the countries, for we have not selected candidates for the wards. So that just shows you that we are really getting ready, and all our councillors are on the ground. Prospective councillors are on the ground, canvassing for votes. Our prospective chairmen and mayors are also on the ground, canvassing for votes. If I just let you know that LRR, I think we have had a week's tour of LRR, and currently we are having a introduction of the candidate for West Coast region for Brikama Area Council. So we are really getting ourselves prepared, and we have not been holding meetings, but now and again I meet groups of people. The national organizing secretary meets groups of people, the campaign manager. So we are all over the country, preparing. We are not waiting to having this big convoy of vehicles to show that we are prepared. No, we are really doing things.
Most of your time, but I have this critical question to ask you again. Your critics are saying that you are not willing to step aside to give way for the young people to leave the party. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I want to say that, as I said one interview, that if I'm not prepared to leave, time will force me to leave. I have always asked young people to come on board, and certainly when the party feels that I should leave, I would leave. And but if the party feels that I should really stay on, get the party better unified, greatly unified and strengthened, I think it will be a disservice if I really abandon that. But the long and short of it is that I am not wedded to the leadership of the party till death do us part. No, I was honored. I didn't ask, and I didn't seek for leadership of the party. I was honored to be given the leadership of the party. And I will not allow a situation which will make me exit or leave the leadership of the party in disgrace. I will not allow that. I will go out with the honor, the same honor with which I came in.
You were active in sporting activities. You were even a member of some of the sporting board. Time is when. Where are you now in sport?
Well, now in sport, I'm in sport in the television. Watch them on television. You see, it's unfortunate. Gambians cannot dissociate things from politics. I was a very big fan of wrestling. If I go into wrestling and become a member of the National Wrestling Federation, they will start labeling it as a UDP organization. And to that extent, it's been difficult. In fact, for me, even to give donations to any sporting sporting organization, it's difficult. And if I do, I don't want it to be publicized, because they think that that is a UDP organization, which is very unfortunate. I enjoy football. I enjoy football, so I enjoy watching football. But I hardly go to attend football matches at the stadium, because some people think that you go there to politics. It's difficult. But maybe I just think that you just have to ignore those things and then do what I think is right. I really miss, wrestling. I really miss it. And now and again, I watch it on Senegalese television, but that's not the one that I really enjoy. I really enjoy our own way of dress, our own way of doing wrestling. And again, sports is another area that I think there should be some investment.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. We end the interview here, but I would like you to give your last words. And
the last word. Yeah. And my last word is vote the UDP candidates at the forthcoming local government elections. Otherwise, you will be betraying the Gambia. Yes.
thank you, sir.